have a secret to tell you, and it's that the One Piece is in fact real. Yes, I have been watching, consuming One Piece pretty much for the last like 6 to 8 months in varying degrees. So I thought, why not document the journey? If we're going to go on this long trek through One Piece, I'm going to, make videos of each arc as I go through it and talk about the things I like, the things I didn't like, and just kind of have this to look back on so that way whenever I finish this journey and get fully caught up, I'll have something to remember it by. So, um, first, let's talk about how I even got started with One Piece. For one, I used to be the guy that hates on it. I still like here and there will make jokes about it because I have this one friend. His name's Chris that loves One Piece. He loves it, and the thing is, he very much subscribes to the meme that you see of all the people online that are constantly trying to get their friends to watch and read One Piece. And I'm just like, bro, nobody has time to read all this or watch all this. Like, nobody has time to do all this. So I was one of those guys. But I had an experience a couple years ago with FF14. Now, this was also similar to the One Piece and why I'm actually just saying, fuck it, I'm going to actually consume this all because I don't want to have the FOMO. So, something to know about me, I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan, right? And Final Fantasy 14 was the one game that I didn't really get into because it's an MMO, and I tend to not like MMOs. I've tried a few in the past, but I was like, nah, it's not really my thing. But there was a very specific set of events that put me on the track to playing Final Fantasy 14. And a couple years ago, it was pretty much during the pandemic, really. There was this whole craze around the game where like you couldn't even buy the game at a certain point. And I was like, dang, like why is everyone playing this game? Like, and then eventually me and my friends we were like, oh, let's just try it. Let's just try it. Like why not? Everyone's talking about it. And then we literally went through one of the craziest binge sessions of all time, where we literally played nothing but Final Fantasy 14 for months. And I'm telling you, it was the most degen shit ever. Like hundreds and hundreds of hours playing through these expansions just to catch up. And that's kind of where I'm at with One Piece. Granted, I don't have the free time to go that degen, but I hear all this talk about One Piece, and we're finally in the real One Piece begins, as I keep hearing and seeing on my Twitter timeline. I'm like, what are they talking about, bro? So I always knew deep down, like in my head, that One Piece is a good show or manga, whatever. I knew it had to be good. There's no way it hooks this many people and it isn't good. So I was like, I just didn't want to do it because it's long. It's shonen, and shonen is very hit or miss for me. There's a lot of shonen that are very popular that just they don't really hit for me. But I have to say, One Piece was a slog for the beginning. It really was. But granted, I expected that. I know it was an older show. I know it was going to have a lot of tropes that seem very played out, but it's an older show. At the time when it came out, they weren't played out. So I'm very open-minded in that aspect. So when I was watching it, I was going through the first few arcs. I actually read it at first. I was reading the first few arcs because I wanted to get through it as quickly as possible. But then eventually down the line, I ended up switching to watching it. We'll talk about that later. But the arcs I read, I pretty much read all of East Blue, and I think I stopped at the very, very beginning of Arabasta, right? And up until recently, I picked it back up because pretty much when I read all of the East Blue saga, I was like, it's okay. Like I wasn't loving it. There wasn't really much attachment or reason for me to feel like, oh, I gotta keep watching, I gotta keep reading. So like I kind of dropped off it for a while. But then one of my friends, Jonathan, he's actually watching, and I was like, you know what? When you get to where I'm at, I'm gonna watch with you because that'll make it feel more like a journey. He's also one of the people that I played FF14 with, so just doing that with him is gonna make it feel more like experience than just me like now it feels like a chore, right? If it was just me by myself. So long story short, he catches up and then we start watching. So then, what we're doing right now is we're watching the One Pace version. I don't know if any of you have heard of that, but it's basically like a very re-edited, cut down version of One Piece anime, and it's actually really good. Like there are times where it cuts down like 4 episodes of content to like 1 40-minute episode, and you don't really notice like what was cut. So I imagine the things that were cut are things that aren't really that important. So I think it's a pretty efficient way to get through it. So we've been watching that version, and I gotta say, I didn't think I would get to this point, but like I'm at the point where I think I can say I like One Piece. I actually kind of like it. Um, for context, we're at the very end of Arabasta, so we finished Little Garden, Drum Island, all that stuff, Whiskey Peak. That's all done. All right, so we're pretty much on like the last few episodes of Arabasta, and where my head is at right now is one of the main reasons for context why I wanted to even watch One Piece is because of Tony Chopper. I think Tony Chopper's cute as hell. We also have this running joke where we call him Tony de Choppa. So if I call him Tony de Choppa, that's why. But I just think the character's like cute. I want to get a plushie of him, especially after seeing his backstory and everything. So I just want to watch the show for that character because I was like, I know I'm gonna like him. So anyway, my favorite arc, easily, is I think it's a Drum Island is the name of the arc, or I guess it's just Alabasta. Basically the whole part with Tony. I thought that part was really funny, which is kind of crazy. Now, granted, this is probably because I'm watching the anime now. When I was reading it, none of the jokes really hit for me. Like I could read something and be like, yeah, I get the joke, but like hearing it voice acted and seeing the goofy animation, it makes a lot of the humor hit like pretty good. Like I was laughing quite a lot during that chunk of the story. So I was like, huh, this show's actually kind of funny. And what's crazy, this is the thing I never thought I would ever like come around to is the art style. Mainly with like I don't have any issue with the main characters in the show. Aside from like the female characters, a lot of times they literally look like Nami reskin. Like it's like you just take this template and then you just change the hairstyle, right? But outside of that, I was like, main characters are fine. But when there's these goofy side characters, a lot of times I look at them and I just can't take them seriously. I think they look ridiculous. It's not bad. I just look at them like, is this what we're fighting? This is the bad guy right now. It's kind of weird. But the more and more I watch, the more it kind of just feels more like a cartoon than an anime, but in a good way. It's not like to, you know, make the show seem lesser. It's like my brain is like accepting these designs more and like I guess looking more at the creativity of the designs and like appreciating them in that aspect more so than like because they could have looked like any generic like anime art style character where they have like very similar proportions, but then in this show they go really crazy. They have these like really wide bodied big characters and stuff like that, and I think that's actually pretty neat. So um I've like completely come around in an aspect. Like I would say I like the progression so far. I didn't like the East Blue stuff. I thought that stuff was too slow. I thought it was taking way too long to introduce people. I feel like everything that happens in like that first 130 or so chapters could have been done like in like 50 or 40 chapters if I'm being honest. But granted, it's old. This is just how it was done back then, so I'm not knocking the series for that. Just if anyone tells you that like the beginning is not that bad, it's not that bad. I wouldn't say all that. It is a slog to get through that beginning, but once you get to Arabasta and you start like when you finish that arc, if you don't like it by then I'll be shocked because like I think that's actually like when One Piece starts getting like pretty good. So right now I would say my rating of the show is like it's like a 7 right now. I think the episode that we stopped on is like episode 225. I could be wrong. I could be way off on that. I feel like it's 225, but it's been a while. I could actually check it right now. But yeah, favorite character is still Nami and Chopper. Those are my favorite characters. I have not. Uh, I guess, started to like anyone else aside from those two. But I am looking forward to, getting more attached to some of the other characters. I do know there's some other characters later on that I've seen like designs and stuff for that I'm interested in and seeing like what their thing is. Um, but yeah, man. I don't know. I think I'm becoming a One Piece guy. I don't know. This is kind of weird for me. I didn't think I'd be into this show as much as I am. And the thing is, it gets better apparently. Like right now, I think it's like a 7. If this is like where we are now, like when we get to, I know there's like other arc names like Thriller Bark, Water 7. Like whenever we get to those, like Wano's the one I gave you. If Wano's what is all hyped up to be, One Piece might be a goat. I don't know. But yeah. Also, the music is really good in the anime. I did not expect this because I never hear people talk highly of One Piece's music. At least I've never heard that. So when I was like, watching these episodes, I'm hearing these tracks. I'm like, huh, okay, okay. Uh, yeah. So yeah, to close this off, I gotta say One Piece is pretty good. Check it out if you're interested. I think it's worth trying at least. Don't get too intimidated by the episode count. I'm definitely not. I'm just going at my own pace. I'll finish it when I finish it. My goal is just to be caught up when it's about to end. I don't want to be one of those people that are feeling like they're missing out because they never got on the train and then the train's at the very end and it's like, because I know I can tell this is going to be a big thing. Like when this series ends, it's going to be a big deal. And I kind of want to be there for that. So that's why I'm on the train. Uh, I highly suggest you hop on. It'll be fun. And yeah, see you tomorrow.